power with the appointment of a special counsel and a sense of hope, at least on the president's side, that hostilities might be wrapped up quickly. 2018 was a stalemate as each side, optimism gone, dug in for a long battle. 2019 saw what at first appeared to be the end of action, Mueller's last stand, only to see the conflict flare up again in one more desperate Democratic attack as the 2020 elections approached. This is the story of that long campaign, from the first shot, the appointment of Mueller, to the final gasp in the Senate impeachment trial. Chapter 1. James Comey, Russia, and the Road to Mueller. His instincts were that Comey was no good. 6 ways from Sunday, pulling a J. Edgar Hoover. It's bullshit, the Comey campaign. The last straw. You are not able to effectively lead the Bureau. 8 days in May, a glimpse of a terrible future. If any single day marked the official kickoff of the Democratic campaign to remove President Trump, it was May 17, 2017. On that day, Robert Mueller, the former FBI director, was appointed special counsel to investigate the Trump-Russia affair. But also on that day, less noted, came the first formal call for Trump's impeachment in the House of Representatives, when Democratic Representative Al Green of Texas announced, "This is where I stand. I will not be moved. The president must be impeached." From that point on, the two processes, investigation and impeachment, a legal battle and a political one, were intertwined. The two were always dependent on each other. Mueller had the power to investigate and prosecute anyone associated with the Trump campaign, but it was widely understood that he could not indict the president himself. The House had limited authority to investigate, nothing like the full law enforcement powers Mueller had, but it had the sole constitutional authority to impeach the president. So, if any action against the president were to result from Mueller's work, it would have to be undertaken by the House. What that meant was that Mueller's team, as well as being prosecutors, also served as the de facto investigative arm of the House of Representatives. Democratic lawmakers, then in the minority, could not impeach the president, but they could crack the door open and wait to see what Mueller found. If the special prosecutor turned over material that could be used against Trump, Democrats could apply pressure for impeachment. If they could win a majority in the House, they could initiate impeachment themselves. But in any scenario, their strategy depended on the prosecutor. The symbiotic relationship between investigator and lawmaker had been noted back in the 1980s, when the old independent counsel law was in effect. That law, a post-Watergate reform intended to check the power of the presidency, required an independent counsel, upon completion of his investigation, to write a report to Congress presenting his findings. Congress could then decide whether to use those findings to impeach the president. In Morrison v. Olson, a case challenging the constitutionality of the law, in which the Supreme Court upheld its constitutionality by a 7-1 vote, the lone dissenter was Justice Antonin Scalia, who observed that appointing an independent counsel was, in actual practice, a step toward removing the president. As he put it, the law was acrid with the smell of threatened impeachment. The independent counsel law survived that Supreme Court challenge, but it did not survive the fallout from the impeachment of Bill Clinton, in which the law functioned precisely as Scalia predicted. And before the law bit Democrats on the backside during Clinton's presidency, it wounded Republicans during the Reagan-era Iran-Contra scandal. Unhappy lawmakers from both parties allowed it to expire in 1999. But official Washington still believed there had to be some mechanism to investigate a president and other top officials accused of wrongdoing. So that same year, 1999, the Justice Department adopted regulations for what became known as special counsels, who would have many of the same powers as the old independent counsels, but who were not required to present a report to Congress.
The idea was that if Congress did not receive a report that could serve as a roadmap to impeachment, the opposition party would be less tempted and less able to impeach the president.
But what the drafters of the regulations did not contemplate was that in the white-hot political atmosphere of an investigation, say the Trump-Russia probe, there might not be much practical difference between an independent counsel and a special counsel. In such a high-profile case, the special counsel could not present a brief summary of his investigation to the Justice Department, decline to charge anyone, and be done with it.